Hello and welcome back to Us Weekly's Bachelor Recap. I'm Jared Freid, here with you every week to go over the insanity that is The Bachelor. Last week we left off with Hannah doing the will she, won't she of will she come back to the show. I mean, none of us thought that was going to happen, right? Right. You think a Dancing with the Stars champion is all of a sudden just going to go back in the house and compete against 30 other women to get one dude who makes $120,000 a year flying planes from Des Moines to Illinois? Come on. That's not going to happen. The best part is Peter offers Hannah the ability to come back, which feels like the best revenge you could ever offer someone who has dumped you. Hey, yeah, I'll give you a second chance. You can compete against these 20 women. How about you go on a group date and then I'll think about whether I'll take you back or not. Hannah and Peter have this whole talk. Hannah's covered in glitter for some unknown reason. And Peter puts her on his lap really awkwardly and they have a goodbye Eskimo kiss. And at this point, the other women are just out there hanging out with a windmill. Like the other women on the group date are just hanging out on a stage where Hannah just told the story about how she banged them 4 times in a windmill with this, with the structure behind them. So what are these other women thinking? Like, are they just sitting out there going, well, I guess they're just saying their goodbyes. They're just catching up on old times. We come back to the women and they're pissed, okay? Not happy, led by Natasha, who is right. Natasha said, I've been here 2 days and both days his ex has shown up. She's right. She's also the oldest on the show. This makes sense. The oldest on the show is like, this is a waste of my time. I have to get home and find a husband. The other woman that's mad is Sydney, which Sydney and Natasha team up to get angry at Peter, which Sydney is 24 and is like, I left my life for this. What, Sydney? You left maybe going back to grad school? You're fine. Why don't you relax? Natasha, we're cool with. Sydney, take a seat. So now Sparkly Peter comes back to the women. He apologizes. He's like, let's move on. Let's not forget about what just happened. Forget that my ex showed up and told you how she banged me 4 times in a windmill, then tried to come back on the show, then asked me to let's just take a flight and go somewhere. And I actually thought about it and I told the producers I wanted to kiss her. Forget about that. I'm here for you guys. And the women are appropriately mad. They're like, well, what are we doing here? What's going on here? And we go back to the house. He apologizes again. And now where McKenna has taken the lead crazy position. McKenna is our lead crazy out of the clubhouse. While all the other girls are sitting there going, well, is Peter really here for this? Is Hannah B coming back? McKenna is just like, I'm going in for the kill. Takes him aside. And then Peter, what we're finding out about him, I don't know if this is his fetish. I don't know if this is his thing, but Peter has a thing with picking up women, putting them on a seat, and then having them straddle him while he makes out with them. That is the Peter. He's now done it 3 different times. McKenna engages in the Peter. They make out. She's basically like, I'm here to play. The game has begun. Hannah B is gone. McKenna is in. We come back to the house. And we're going to have a rose ceremony. They're having the cocktail hour prior to the rose ceremony. At this point, all the women are trying to get time with Peter because time was cut short. Time had gone to Hannah B trying to figure out her quarter-life crisis. So now Peter's here going around to all the women. Can I steal you? Can I steal you? And we're introduced to Kelsey. Kelsey tells us that she wants to give Peter a nice bottle of champagne that she's saved for a special occasion. And I don't know champagne very well, but it seems like a nice bottle. It seems like she's made, this is an effort she's made. So Kelsey puts out the bottle, puts out a blanket, and she goes to find Peter. Peter and Hannah Ann are already talking about Beanie Babies or something. You know, she's a 4-year-old. So they're going, him and Hannah Ann are talking. And this is where you start to realize the dynamic in the house. It seems to me that Hannah Ann and McKenna are kind of this young buck, I just graduated from college, 22, I have nothing to lose group. And then there's everybody else. There's the other people who are there, you know, they've lived a little bit of life. They've experienced some things. They're maybe not as easygoing because there's a lot of pressure. They've left an actual job. Hannah Ann left her parents' basement to be here, where she models sometimes. Hannah Ann has never opened an electric bill. So she is very easygoing and not anxious on this show. So Hannah Ann and Peter are walking around the house and they come upon the setup that Kelsey's put out. There is nothing more 22 when I live with my parents than seeing champagne and a blanket out and going, oh, the world provides. Of course this is for me. Let's open it up. And then Hannah takes the bottle and instead of, you know, I don't know who's ever looked at a champagne bottle and been like, before I open this, I should shake it like it's a Snapple. Because Hannah takes it and just starts shaking it up as if she's like, oh, I got to make sure that the champagne mixes. What? Then she opens the champagne. Kelsey, in another part of the house, reacts like a deer. She's like, she heard the champagne pop. Kelsey goes over to them. And this is, you know, The Bachelor is a very difficult show to tell people you watch because of a scene like this. People would be like, what did you watch last night? And you'd be like, oh, I watched The Bachelor. And they'll go, what happened? And you'd have to answer, I watched two women fight about a champagne bottle for 45 minutes. And they would go, and the person would look at you and go, you know that like the world is in chaos, right? And you'd have to go, yes, I know. I choose to ignore that so that I can watch two women fight about champagne for 45 minutes. So that's where we stand. So Kelsey's mad at Hannah, and Kelsey does also a toddler-like move. She sees that Hannah has opened her very special bottle of champagne. She looks at it. She doesn't explain to Peter anything. She just goes, oh my God, and then runs away. No explanation, no talk, no adult conversation, no, hey, why don't you respect where I'm coming from? No, runs away. So now Hannah Ann and Peter have to go chase her. There's a discussion. Now Hannah Ann is discussing with Kelsey that she's moved on. Hannah Ann's like, I've moved on. I'm my bad. And Kelsey's like, you've moved on. What? I saved the champagne for a year. It was on the second shelf up at the wine store. It cost me $59.99. So Kelsey's like, you know, Peter, you got to feel bad for Peter in this situation because he's now the referee of Champagne Gate. He's got to figure this whole thing out. So he goes and tends to Kelsey. They find a new setup with a new bottle of champagne, and they're like, all is well. You're going to get your champagne moment. And Peter opens it up, and for some reason, Kelsey's like, I got to show you that I'm a bad. Kelsey's like, I got to show you that I'm chill. This is a funny female moment where she's like, I'm not just a regular girl. I know I got a little mad at that champagne issue with Hannah Ann before, but let me show you how chill I am. And she's like, I'll chug it from the bottle. I'm a girl who's a freak in the sheets and classy in the streets, and I'm going to take this champagne. And she takes the champagne bottle, and God was with us last night. God said, no, Kelsey. You do not get to be chill Kelsey in this moment. I need the viewers at home. We've had a tough week. The viewers at home deserve this. And she takes the bottle to chug it, and it explodes out of the bottle, out of her mouth, all over her dress. chaos ensues. And the perfect moment. There are no words. I don't care what meme was made about the champagne popping out of her mouth. I don't care what your friend said. I don't care how your friend, compared it to a sexual act. There's no words for the perfection of that moment. There are no words to describe Kelsey calming herself down, getting a little cocky, taking the bottle, showing Peter, I'm chill, I'm cool, chug, chug, boom, out of her mouth, all over her dress. And now we're dealing with Kelsey. I've been in this fight with my girlfriend, okay? I know how this works. This is a very girlfriend moment, okay? You'll calm her down, she'll chill out, and then one thing will happen, and she's like, now I'm going to explode and get re-mad at the thing I was originally mad at. She's like, I need to explode so much about the champagne issue that everyone forgets that I just spit champagne all over myself like a 4-year-old. And so Kelsey goes into basic maneuvers. She pulls the jujitsu and she's like, Hannah Ann, I'm not done with you. We're going to talk about this champagne again. So now she's in a full rage and it's a perfect Bachelor moment. It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you for this gift. We go to the rose ceremony. Kelsey and Hannah Ann are placed right next to each other. It ends up they're both staying, of course, whether Peter likes it or not. They're both staying on the show. We get past the rose ceremony. They send home some nobodies. Fine. Get them out of here. And we go on to another group date. The group date is held at Revolve, okay? I'm pretty sure women like Revolve because my girlfriend didn't talk crap about Revolve. Usually if a clothing store comes up that the women of the world agree is a horrible clothing store, they'll all go, hiss, hiss. They'll all yell at the TV. Didn't hear any of this. Revolve must be a good store. Getting the plug of a lifetime. We walk into the store and all of a sudden we're transported back to 2003 because Carson Kressley's there and Janice Dickinson. An embarrassing moment for them is when Peter had to introduce them both to the women that are sitting there. The girls sitting there are like, what? And Carson's like, hey, I'm Carson Kressley. And they're like, who? And he's like, Tan France? I'm like him, but older and white. It made me feel old because I remember Carson Kressley. That was my first gay friend. So it was a step back in time. I don't know how they ended up on this episode, but the whole premise is that they're going to pick out clothing for themselves to do a fashion show, and the winner is going to get $40,000 worth of clothing. That's a big win. At this point, you're on the show for the clothing more than you are Peter. Like the women, you could see their faces turned at the idea. They're like, oh, 40,000 clothing. I don't have to wait. I don't have to keep the tags on. I can take the tags off. Like that's how they all looked. They go try on the clothes. At this point, we find out that Victoria F, who, if you might remember her as the I have a wet woman. Yep, that's right. Can't never forget. So Victoria F is Victoria I have a wet F is now revealing that she has some confidence issues. That's where this episode takes a very special turn. Victoria's doesn't know how to approach a man. She's very special because sometimes she's an introvert and sometimes she's an extrovert. And she also likes adventure and traveling. She's not like any of us. And sometimes she gets self-conscious. None of us do. Only Victoria F knows the horrors of having a less than spectacular feelings about themselves and their body. Come on. So we go to the runway show, and at this point, Victoria's told us about her issues, and they have this big moment where it's like, okay, Victoria's going to go out there, and we're like, you're half expecting. She's like, I got all these confidence issues, and you're half expecting her to like walk out like with her head bowed down, and she walks out, she's like Sasha Fierce. She's Beyonce all of a sudden, goes on the stage, disrobes, full lingerie, like any of us with body issues, if I'm at home watching this after eating a full chicken and I can't take my shirt off in the dark and I got to listen to Victoria F. talk about her issues, she disrobes, she's in the full lingerie, she pulls Peter in, full makeout session in front of 1,000 people. And it's like, good for you, Victoria. We all learned something about confidence today. We get to the end, and it becomes the final two. We're going to do a walk-off. The final two are Victoria F. and Hannah Ann. Hannah Ann wins the fashion show. Because life isn't fair. Hannah Ann, 22, lives with her parents, never opened a bill, doesn't even know what debt is, wins $40,000 worth of clothing. And guess what? It all fits her perfectly. That's right. We should all hate Hannah Ann. I'm sorry. Hannah Ann, you might be a nice person, but what you represent is truly awful. 22, living at home, taking a 6-month vacation. Going to have about 1 million Instagram followers after this. We're all going to be listening to Hannah Ann's podcast in a year from now called Hot Topics with Hannah. We get done with the Revolve date and we come back to the house, and now Hannah Ann pulls Peter aside to let him know. This is my favorite Bachelor tradition, is the girl on the show who has to let the Bachelor know what's happening in the house. And it's always presented as, I just want to let you know. It's not presented as, hey, I just want to make sure the girl I hate gets kicked off the show right away. It's never done that way. It's always like, I just want to let you know what's going on. I want to make sure you know everything. Hannah Ann pulls Peter aside and says that she's being bullied. Okay, the word bullied is thrown around, is on this show for whatever reason. If someone is accused of bullying, that is like accusing of them of using racial slurs. Like that is the worst thing you could be called on The Bachelor, is a bully. Because it's probably because all these women are gorgeous and they know that they're in a position their whole lives of being called a bully by someone else just because they didn't talk to them in the hallway in high school. So I get it. But they're very afraid of being called a bully. And Hannah Ann drops the B word. She's like, Kelsey's a bully. And we're like, oh, no! Peter pulls Kelsey aside. He talks to Kelsey. He's like, I heard that you're being a bully. And they're like, the B word? Dun, dun, dun. Like, everyone freaks out. Kelsey looks at him and is like, that's not what's going on. They have their argument. They talk this out. Kelsey then comes back to the group. And in one of my favorite moments of the show, one of the girls is like, talk to Hannah Ann. You guys should talk it out. And she goes, I don't even want to talk it out right now. And then Hannah Ann's right next to her. Like, Hannah Ann, she's like, I can hear you. I couldn't talk it out right now. No, there's no way. How could I ever? Hannah Ann's like, yeah, I can hear everything you're saying. And at that point, Kelsey runs away to the bathroom to have a cry, because we have two very distinct teams. There's McKenna and Hannah Ann, and then there's Kelsey, and then there's kind of everybody else at this point. Those are kind of where everyone stands. And that's how we end the episode, with tears, with drama. And we'll be back next week. That's your Bachelor recap. We'll be back next week when we find out if Kelsey ever comes out of that bathroom. I kept thinking when Kelsey went into the bathroom, I was like, if I worked on that show, I'd be in the bathroom. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I was just using, I had a little too much of craft food, craft services. We'll be back next week. I'm Jared Freid.